and welcome back to the Tete-a-Tete podcast by Fresxco Media. And I have with me Fresxcodzxns here. And today we're going to be talking about La Liga as a whole. And of course, when we mention La Liga, I think we need to talk about the fact that the utter dominance that La Liga has shown over the last, say, 10 to 15 years on the European stage. But at the same time as well, you can see that we can start to see a decline in the dominance of La Liga teams on the European stage, especially in the Champions League, because for the first time in I think almost 15 years, a Spanish team did not make it to the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League last season, where we saw, of course, two French team and two German teams make it to the semi-finals, and we all know what happened after that. Bayern Munich went and completed the treble. Um, Today we're going to be talking about how La Liga has been the dominant force over the last 12 to 15 years, coupled with the fact that there has been a decline in the standards of the league. And we're also going to be talking about the prospects of Barcelona and Madrid going into the coming season, how Atletico Madrid have had a little bit of a identity change with certain players that have come in, and of course the midfield battle that is going to be taking place in the table. And let's not forget, we're also going to be touching upon the Messi situation, how it can have a major impact on not just Barcelona, but La Liga going forward.
La Liga experience, I think it's fair to say, like you mentioned, their dominance, and within the dominance, it's between Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Real Madrid, who themselves constituted majority of the finals in the UEFA Champions League the past decade. And let's not forget, of course, the Sevilla League, which is the Europa League, having won it 4 times in the past decade. We've even seen teams like Athletic Bilbao turn up in the Europa League on one or two occasions. So Spain did have a very dominant period, both in the national front as well as the league front. And I think it's quite confusing as to why they've dropped off, Barcelona and Real Madrid specifically, over the last couple of years, considering that these are the clubs that are most followed across world football. They have probably the best talent, arguably. One would say that maybe it is due to the fact that Spain has not been able to progress in the same manner as, of course, the Premier League, the Bundesliga, and the Serie A, and trying to generate a lot more competition within the league. But that being said, we did expect a bit more from Barcelona and Real Madrid. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I do think it's fair to say that Barcelona and Real Madrid have set, I think, crazy expectations with themselves, and of course the fan base as well, when it comes to year in year out what their expectations need to be come the end of the season and what they are expected to do as a football club. And of course, given the resources they have, the worldwide fan base that they have, I think it's fair to say that they don't need to win one major trophy every single season, because look at the season that Barcelona just.
But wouldn't you say though? Wouldn't you say though that since the 2017 season, where Real Madrid notched their fourth Champions League title this decade, that there was a renewed resurgence from Barcelona to try and grab the crown off their rivals? Because remember that famous Messi interview in front of Camp Nou, which has been
Yeah.
memed a lot because they lost to Liverpool
Yes.
that season, and it almost felt like they didn't care really about the La Liga title until last year, of course, when neither team was realistically going to win the Champions League. It's quite a shift, isn't it? Considering that they were only looking to retain the Champions League title over
Yeah,
the La
I
Liga.
think Barcelona are a prime example of the metaphor where you say the grass is always not greener. Because let's face some facts. They sacked Ernesto Valverde for a lot of reasons, and I think one of the main reasons was the fact that apparently he didn't play too expansive football, and at the same time he didn't have the desired impact on the Champions League latter stages. But let's not forget that he won the La Liga back to back, and it's not an easy task no matter what squad that you have. And of course, when that squad has Messi, it makes your situation a whole lot easier when it comes to retaining the La Liga. But once they sacked Ernesto Valverde, I think everything has been going downhill from Barcelona, and I do think that's had a big impact on Barcelona, because right now, let's see, since 2017, Madrid won their third in a row Champions League title. I think both the clubs have been in a kind of a this transition phase, because Barcelona have been trying to catch up with Real Madrid by making a couple of expensive signings, which of course we all know that have not been unqualified successes. Let's talk about Antoine Griezmann, Ousmane Dembele, and Philippe Coutinho. I mean, can you honestly tell me that either one of those players has been a huge success at Barcelona, that you can see them having a long-term future at the club for, say, the next 3, 4, 5 years where they're going to have an impact at the club year in, year out. No, I cannot see that. I mean, we can still talk about Dembele because he has time on his side, but we all know the issues surrounding him personally. And at the same time, this is a lot of money to invest just on three players. And we can see the impacts of this having on Barcelona right now, especially in a COVID affected market where they've had to sell players first in order to buy players. Like, look at Nelson Semedo. They sold Nelson Semedo for 35 million and they've gone and bought Serginho Dest because I just don't understand that. I think they've had more gaping issues in the team, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Yeah.
Let's really get into the nitty gritty of the Messi saga, because no matter what we say about Barcelona's trials and tribulations over the last couple of years, it has to all end up towards Lionel Messi, who's literally carried the team the
Yes, no
last
doubt.
4 or 5 years since Neymar left Barcelona. And the guy is probably the best player, arguably, in Barcelona's history, and probably one of the best of all time. Now, to see him, I've barely seen him speak, heard him speak, or come on national television and give a 15-minute passionate interview, talking about his desire to leave the club. It was, it was almost like it was a breakthrough
A
point.
soap opera.
It was
It was a soap
unbelievable,
opera at the
wasn't
end
it?
of the
I've
day.
never seen him utter more than five
Yeah.
words in a press conference, and here he is going on and on about his desire to leave and how he had to, console his kids and his wife who didn't want to leave. And I think everyone knows
How he
that
felt betrayed by Bartomeu. Yeah.
100%
Yeah, for
betrayed,
sure.
of course, but that the fact that this is the only talking point, no matter what happened behind the scenes, that Messi staying at Barcelona wasn't really viewed as a success, and rather one more year of contending with each other. It says a lot about the club. We will go into the more specific reasons as to why Barcelona have lost the plot the last couple of years, but this has to be the running theme, that Messi is the man and has to be the man for Barcelona.
Yeah, I think that's been like a little bit of a thing that this could be like a last dance esque kind of thing where they have one last go at the Champions League title. But I think we need to remind certain people as well is that the Chicago Bulls at the time were the most successful team on the planet in the sense that they just won the three-peat, and again they were almost going to win the three-peat again the next season. Barcelona haven't won the Champions
They
League.
also kept their players.
Yes,
Barcelona have lost Luis
yes,
Suarez.
yes. Barcelona have not won it since 2014, and I do think that this is going to be a marriage of convenience between Messi and the Barcelona board, and I think all neutral football fans would like to see Messi lift the trophy one last time, but I do see a lot of issues for Barcelona going into this season. Let's not forget that there are other areas of the squad, is other areas all over the pitch that they've not actually taken care of when it comes to recruitment. Uh, Luis Suarez, what do you think about that situation? Him being the third highest goal scorer in Barcelona's history at 198 goals, and the way that his departure has been handled by the Barcelona board. And of course, we all know Messi has well reacted, and we do know that they are best friends off the pitch.
I don't want to compare it to another very similar situation with Gareth Bale at Real Madrid, but this is a proper stab in the back, isn't it? Because Suarez has given everything for this club. He's not the most liked player, it's fair to say, because of his antics in the past, especially with Liverpool. But this is a player that is, like you said, the third highest all-time scorer in Barcelona's history, and he's won them a couple of La Ligas. By the way, it's not like he's just been scoring goals because of Messi, Neymar, and Co. He's been exceptional, and
Yes.
he's joined Atletico Madrid, a direct rival, which kind of baffles me as to why they let that happen. I understand a Juventus move, but to sell them to your direct rivals is kind of stupid. And at the same time, losing that amount of experience and that amount of camaraderie that he shares with Lionel Messi, it seems like they want to leave. Although they want Messi to stay, they're kind of getting his friends to leave the club. We saw Arturo Vidal, one of his other good mates, leave the club in the summer, and I do understand that they've made mistakes financially in giving aging players big contracts for a long period of time, and they have to correct these mistakes because Messi is also on a big contract, and they have to keep him happy. But it's just completely mismanaged, isn't it? It should be streamlined from recruitment to financials to manager appointments. It just seems helter skelter at the moment.
Yeah, I do think so. And I just want to make one last point on Luis Suarez. That 2015-16 season where he scored 59 goals and I think he almost gave 23 assists. I mean, to do that during the prime of Ronaldo and Messi, I just think speaks volumes of the type of talent that he was. And when he was at the peak of his powers, I think he was a top three player in the world.
El Pistolero. He is the El Pistolero. Unbelievable footballer.
Speaking of El Pistolero, what do you think about Ronald Koeman, who has kind of been attributed to for one of the main reasons for Luis Suarez leaving and one of the main reasons for the disruption that's been going on behind the scenes?
I think there's one video, isn't there, that Koeman was talking a year ago about Barcelona's superstars, and he said that they're the best superstars in the world, but they're aging. Why is the club giving them contracts? And he seems to be true to his word by saying that, these aging footballers don't deserve to be at the club. Very harsh, but of course, he's not been at the club for the last 5 or 6 years and hasn't really seen firsthand that these players have produced miracles for the club, considering their precarious financial position. Coming to Koeman a bit more, this is a classic case of a manager who hasn't been in the game for 6 to 7 months because of the COVID enforced break, and his stock has risen into a place where even he would have never imagined at the start of the year that he'd be a favorite for the Barcelona job. I thought maybe, when they sacked Ernesto Valverde and subsequently Quique Setien, that it would probably be one of Pochettino or Allegri that took over the reins because they're just more proven as a club manager. But Ronald Koeman's last two domestic appointments, he might have been a success at Southampton, but you can't even consider him to be a success at Everton. He was shambolic. And we're talking about Everton, who also splurged a lot of money at the time on a lot of players. Koeman baffles me because he might be in the position simply because he used to play for the club. And I think that's what the president, Jose Maria Bartomeu, seems to indicate. But no one knows what his plans are tactically, whether he's, again, just like Valverde and Setien, going to favor Messi's role in the team, or is he going to give the youngsters like Coutinho, Griezmann, and Ansu Fati a chance? We still, jury's out for that one.
I think the theory we were speaking about that's been doing the rounds that a manager's stock rises more now while he's out of a job rather than when he's in a job. I think this theory has been given some weight to that. I mean, let's look at the prime example of Sam Allardyce. I mean, the guy gets a job halfway through the season, he saves the team, starts off the season with the team next, and then the fans get behind his back because of dull, unattractive football he employs, and then he's out of a job for 1 year, 2 years, and then his stock is again on the rise in order to save a team from relegation, and then the cycle goes on and on. And let's not forget that
Just to veer off a little bit, Big Sam at Fulham, I think you should be wary of it. I think it's going to happen. Big Sam at Fulham for sure.
Big Sam at Fulham. Wow. I feel bad for Scott Parker. I think he's been given an impossible job by the owners. But yeah, I do see potential.
You
in
mean
that.
Leonardo DiCaprio? You mean the guy Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street,
Jesus,
right?
seeing Mikel Arteta and Scott Parker on the sidelines. It's a long throw from Arsene Wenger and Ferguson on the sidelines.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to distract you there.
Yeah. So I was just saying about the fact that you look at Sam Allardyce and you, of course, look at Frank de Boer. He's got the Netherlands job right now, and we all know what happened in Crystal Palace. And let's not forget that fantastic, legendary interview of Jose Mourinho where he says Frank de Boer has, I think, the worst worst win rate ratio of any manager in PL history. So I just does goes to show that if you don't have a job in football as a manager, your stock might just increase, or you might just have a crack at a good job again.
Just looking at it a little bit tactically, how do you think he's going to accommodate Antoine Griezmann? Because we knew that he never had the chances that he used to enjoy at Atletico Madrid, where he played through the middle or behind a striker. Barcelona have, of course, sold their number one striker. They've tried to get Memphis Depay in, but even with Memphis in, I can't see a way in which both of them would fit. So, what do you think about Griezmann's season? How important is it that he gets his positioning right?
I do think this is going to be a make or break season for Antoine Griezmann at Barcelona and Memphis Depay at Barcelona. The more I think about it, I do see potential for that to being a success at the club because I do think he had him being the striker that he is. He can play out and out in the center areas, and of course he does tend to drift to the left a little bit, but. Antoine Griezmann, I mean, we do know that he shares the same position as Lionel Messi on the pitch. Even when it's not them lining up on the same position, they do tend to drift towards the same areas on the pitch. So I just don't see, even when he signed for Barcelona, how it's going to work. Because we all know who's going to be the undisputed right wing king, sorry. And it's going to be Lionel Messi. And I do hope for
Ousmane Dembele, I thought.
Ousmane Dembele. Oh my God, the rumors that are going around about Manchester United buying Ousmane Dembele. But okay, that's for another time altogether. But I think about Griezmann, and I do think that Koeman might give him the benefit of doubt and try to make Messi more centrally dominating, and also tend to drift towards the left more in order to give Griezmann and accommodate some space for him on the left to cut in, or maybe to make those runs darting inwards. So it's going to be interesting to see how Ronald Koeman accommodates him in the team.
Now, of course, Barcelona have a critical point in the history when their new president is elected next March 2021. Um, it could be a game changer for the club. There is rumor of Xavi being appointed as the manager with a potential candidate for the presidency. But uh, with all this considered, with the political turmoil behind the Blaugrana, and of course their on-pitch problems in trying to accommodate 4 or 5 players in the same position, what do you see from Barcelona this season, title-wise, and also in terms of performance? Do you see them racking up goals like they did for fun over the last 3 or 4 years, or do you see them being a bit more reserved because the defense has just been too fragile the past couple of seasons?
Ronald Koeman, now the Barcelona manager, I do think that his remit is going to be that Barcelona need to fight for the La Liga title, of course, and also make an impact in the latter stages of the UCL, because let's not forget that they still do have a fantastically talented squad, and Ansu Fati is clearly primed to take on the role of the left wing player in the team right now. And I can see them challenging Real Madrid for the title, but I do think that Real Madrid will still edge them at the end of the day. And I do hope that for Messi's sake, that they can make a dent in the latter stages of the Champions Leagues, and I do expect them to make it to the quarters or the semi-finals at least. But yeah, I don't see a major trophy for them at the end of the season. No.
So Real Madrid won the La Liga and are the defending champions coming into this present season. And has to be said that after the lockdown, they were immensely impressive defensively. Um, and even the fact that Sergio Ramos was their top scorer after lockdown says a lot. He has been, of course, we can't deny his goal scoring record, but it, although it was a great positive that he turned up and he scored a lot of penalties and free kicks and headers, it was a concern that the only other outlet that they had was Karim Benzema, which, by the way, I think we all need to appreciate the work Karim Benzema does. He's not a goal scorer, he's not a creator, he's someone that does all the roles well. He ticks all the boxes for a manager when they look for a centre forward. Um, Fantastic season last season. He's looking to build upon it this year. But Real Madrid have gone through a transition, and they are probably continue to go through the transition after Cristiano Ronaldo's departure from the Bernabeu. They have signed a couple of very exciting Brazilians over the last couple of years in Vinicius and Rodrigo. Eden Hazard has still not found his feet yet, and that's quite a concern because he's been turning up to preseason training every season looking like a heavyweight boxer, which is not really good news. Meanwhile, they do have a few success stories. Federico Valverde was scouted by the Youth Academy, fantastic talent. You should watch him this season. Great midfielder and has probably replaced Luka Modric from the team. And Ferland Mendy as well, a left back, displacing Marcelo. Some very good individual performances last season and breakthroughs into the Real Madrid season. But what is Zidane's outlook on this year? Is he just going to go for a Champions League and leave, or is he going to go gung ho for the treble?
I think leaving Zidane aside for the time being, I think I'm very excited to see Martin Odegaard back in the fold, because let's all, if we all can remember back, I think say 4 5 years ago, as a 16-year-old, he was being touted as the next big thing in world football, because I do think it came at a very early stage in his career development, obviously moving to Real Madrid, but I think he's justified the potential that he has shown only in flashes as a youngster. But now at Real Sociedad,
I think credit to Real Madrid. You don't associate them with keeping faith in youngsters who don't perform, do they?
100%. And I do think that they're going to reap the rewards of this one for sure, because his loan spell at Real Sociedad was a fantastic success. And now bringing him back into the fold, I think they have managed him perfectly. Maybe in the first 2 years of buying him, they didn't manage him that well. But right now they've got it on point, because his loan spells at the Netherlands and also Real Sociedad has helped him develop into a player that can compete in the squad. And I think this season, when it comes to Real Madrid and the transfer business they've done, of course, they've not done much transfer business, to be fair. They've kind of cleaned the wage bill by getting rid of James Rodriguez and the fantastic Gareth Bale, who we'll come back to a bit later. And of course, Sergio Reguilon has joined Tottenham right now, signing a 5-year deal with them. I do think that the most surprising departure, of course, has to be attributed to Achraf Hakimi, who a lot of Madrid supporters were looking forward to seeing him in the gold and white of Real Madrid next season. But unfortunately, he'll be plying his trade at Inter Milan, and we're still going to be seeing Dani Carvajal running up and down the pitch, who's only 28 years old but has played a lot of football already, and it looks like he is a bit past his prime. Talking about the manager, I do think that his priority again is going to be to win the La Liga title, because let's face it, they have not retained the title since 2008. So that's a long time for a club like Real Madrid. So I do think, in my opinion, that it's still going to be winning the title as the main priority, because let's face it, they've won 4 Champions League this decade, and right now they are kind of going through a transitional phase with certain youngsters, like you mentioned, like Fede Valverde, who's becoming a mainstay in that midfield, along with Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, and of course Rafael Varane, who, let's not forget, has not even turned 30, so he still has time on his side, and Ferland Mendy, who has started to come into his stride at on the left hand side of the defense. So I do think that Karim Benzema is, of course, going to be the main focal point again this season. He has come out of the shadow of Cristiano Ronaldo superbly, and let's not forget that he's turning 33. So I do think he's going to look forward to finishing at the top. And of course, let's not forget to mention Sergio Ramos, who was their top scorer after the restart. And yeah, I do think that that's going to be the main aim for Madrid this season, to retain the La Liga. But let's face it, that Barcelona have their own issues and they're rebuilding, and Atletico facing the same usual questions. So I do see them retaining La Liga.
While their big rivals Barcelona are facing financial issue after financial issue, um, Florentino Perez is known to be, one of those excessively exuberant spenders of money on players. Especially, we all remember the 2009 transfer window. I mean, no one could have seen that coming, where Kaká and Ronaldo joined in the same window, and I think those kind of signings have been a far cry from what we're seeing now with Florentino Perez, who planned very astutely to make sure that the Santiago Bernabeu redevelopment would not be hindered by the COVID-19 pandemic. And by that I mean, obviously, they did lose a lot of revenue through ticket sales, which haven't been existent over the last 6 to 8 months. But the fact that they still maintained almost a break even for the last financial year despite this, and also redevelopment in the stadium, shows how well thought and well planned Perez has kept the club. And even Perez has mentioned a couple of occasions that his style of management off the pitch has changed to a point where he's thinking about the future. And by this, I mean, in the next couple of years, Real Madrid will reap the returns from these new hospitality areas in the Bernabeu. And that could mean, new signings again, new Galacticos, or maybe younger Galacticos. You never know.
I do think that Madrid's youth policy right now, buying foreign youngsters from other continents compared to La Masia, I mean, they've got the upper hand right now. And I think it's showing with Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Fede Valverde. They've kind of been holding the fort in the main team. And let's not forget that I forgot to mention the fact that Eden Hazard needs to have a fantastic second season. And while I'm speaking
We've
this,
all forgotten.
we all
I don't know why
forgot.
we've all forgot about him.
He's already
He
got
was the best
injured.
player in the world a couple of
He's
seasons
already
ago.
got injured. This is so sad. This is I can't believe I'm saying this. He's already injured. He's going to be missing, I think, 4 to 8 weeks already of the start of the season. So I think it's going to be a defining season for him personally and for Madrid as well. So I do think that Florentino Perez has made some astute business in the transfer market over the last 2 3 years by investing in youth, and it's going to help him, of course. And talking about the Bernabeu as well, when I do think that when it does open, and hopefully when things get back to normal as soon as possible, the money that they're going to be able to generate through the stadium, I do think that they are going to be primed to maybe buy one or two more Galactico signings next season, where I can see them investing in midfield and maybe in defense as well, with maybe Diop or Macano or someone coming into that mid defense as well, to anchor it with Rafael Varane for the long term.
Real Madrid also need to look a little bit into their squad depth, because we didn't see too much of Luka Jovic last season. Forward again, who, just like his teammate in Eintracht Frankfurt, Sebastian Haller, never really hit the ground running for either of their teams. And Eder Militao as well didn't get a real shout in the center of the park. I mean, it's hard enough trying to replace one of Ramos and Rafael Varane competently, but there are some players who, just like you mentioned, Hazard is another one, and we don't even mention him as, he's not. It doesn't seem like this is the same kind of season that it is for Griezmann, because Griezmann has been a La Liga player for almost his entire career. It's kind of different. You expect something from him, but with Hazard, we haven't seen anything of him in the La Liga to say that he needs to score this number of goals, or be a provider, or what his role is in the team, because we've seen Vinicius and Rodrigo who are capable of filling the shoes of Eden Hazard. That's quite concerning for him, but at the same time, it speaks volumes about the depth they have in the squad.
I mean, he needs to be on the pitch for him to show what he's capable of doing, right? And I think that's been the biggest problem. I mean, his weight issues in preseason, not just this season, last season as well, have been well documented right now. And clearly, he does have an issue when it comes to him binging on his holiday food. Let's to put it lightly. But yeah, I do think something needs to give, because let's not forget they've invested a lot of money in this player, and I do think that he's letting down the team. And let's not forget that he wanted to move to Madrid. He wanted this move. He wanted to play for his idol Zinedine Zidane. He wanted to play for Madrid, who he thinks is the biggest club in the world. So something has to give from his side, and I do think that there needs to be a change from him in terms of his mentality. And coming on to other players like Luka Jovic and Eder Militao, Luka Jovic has been offered by Real Madrid to a lot of clubs in order to take him out on loan and maybe free up some of his wage bill, some of the wage bill. But now that looks unlikely for him to be moving on from the club, at least for this season, or at least until the January transfer window. I do think that Zinedine Zidane needs to try his best in order to accommodate in his team, at least for the B team when it comes to the Copa del Rey games. Because I do think that one of the traits that we've been seeing about Zinedine Zidane is that if he does not fancy a player, he does not give him a chance at all. He does not try to get the player to change his mind, which I don't think is the greatest of choices, especially
Gareth Bale.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, come on, this is going to be a season where the footballing calendar is going to be extremely jam packed. So I do think that Zidane needs to be a little bit more flexible now and give Luka Jovic a greater run in the team, and to at least try and showcase the form that he showed at Eintracht Frankfurt.
Well, finally, speaking of Real Madrid, I just mentioned there briefly Gareth Bale, but I mean, for a player who's done so much for the club in similar vein to Luis Suarez, but he's actually won most significant trophies by this. I mean, Champions Leagues directly, in fact, not even indirectly. What is your take? Is it because of the differences between how Spain and England work that he's not appreciated? Do you actually think that his golf antics are not welcome at a club like Real Madrid? What is your take on how he's been treated after his departure at Real Madrid?
I find the Gareth Bale situation very interesting, because I do think that I'm in a position to give my opinion on it, just because of the fact that we have a certain similar situation as Arsenal fans that we have with Arsenal. I mean, Mesut Ozil and his whole contract situation with Arsenal as such, with the 350k wage thing, which a lot of other teams, of course, do not want to buy him because of that sole reason, because he does not want to drop in his wages. And coming to Gareth Bale, when it comes to Gareth Bale and Zinedine Zidane, I do think that I think Zidane needs to have 60 to 70% of the blame. And of course, Gareth Bale also needs to take certain blame, because he's showing also how much he doesn't care anymore after a certain point. Yes, we all can see that he came off the bench and he won the Champions League for Madrid against Liverpool in the final, where he scored that wonderful overhead kick. But immediately after that, he told the press that he felt that he needed to start, which actually kind of irritated Zinedine Zidane. And immediately it's after that where he said that I wouldn't mind Gareth Bale leaving the club if he had to. But then we all know what happened that season. Cristiano Ronaldo left Real Madrid. So it was almost impossible for Gareth Bale to leave. And actually, people thought Gareth Bale would finally be primed to take on a main role in this team, which I also thought he would. But clearly, there have been some personal issues between Zinedine Zidane and Gareth Bale, that he's not even got him in the squad for certain games. So I do think that the initial falls between them were created by Zinedine Zidane, because I don't know why he's been so stubborn about the fact that he doesn't want Gareth Bale in his team. But after that, also, I feel that Gareth Bale has also made some unnecessary comments when it comes to how he does not care about what the people think. And yes, he like that's actually a good attribute to have. But then you do need to be a team player when it comes to certain media responsibilities. And I do think that he's also kind of contributed to his downfall at Real Madrid. But having said that, it's done. He's moved to Tottenham Hotspur right now. And as much as I don't like them, I do hope that he does have a good season with them, because we all know how great a fantastic player that he can be on his day.
Atletico Madrid, led by their charismatic manager, or El Cholo as he's known, Diego Simeone, has has tried to change his philosophy from the dogged defensive long ball approach that you mentioned is a B-Tech version of Sam Allardyce into something that is more modern and something that could actually win them some trophies. And they've struggled to score goals. That has been the main problem for Atletico Madrid over the last couple of seasons. Yes, they are going through a transition. They've lost a lot of key players like Diego Godin, Habi, and they're trying to replace them with more futuristic talents like João Felix and Thomas Lemar. But how much do you think Simeone needs to change from his established thought of how he wants his team to play?
I think as far as Simeone is concerned, the minute that you do start, it's like Mourinho. You're willing to see that football as long as results are coming in and as long as the trophies are coming in. And for a certain period of time, you didn't expect trophies from Atletico Madrid. He got them to a point where he was challenging Barcelona and Atletico Madrid with that type of style of football that he employs. And I think for that time it was perfect for Atletico Madrid. But now I do expect Simeone to kind of evolve with the type of football that he tries to preach with the team. I mean, let's look at the fact that he has brought Luis Suarez now into the team, and mentality-wise, I think he's on the same wavelength as Diego Costa, Diego Simeone himself, maybe even the past of Diego Godin and Gabi. But let's not forget, he's an excellent technical player. And you have also Joao Felix, who you can put into the team as well. And let's not forget that Thomas Partey, who may or may not leave the club. Lucas Torreira is going to be joining the club on a season-long loan. And when you have also when you add Saul Niguez into the equation, you have a very competent midfield where you can also put Marcus Llorente maybe as a attacking midfielder. And you have a system where you can have, of course, when you talk about one of the most exciting left backs right now in the game, Renan Lodi, who is considered to may have a breakout season. And since that, you can also look at the fact that this team can be primed to be with Simeone's aggression and mentality, but also play football with short passes, with a more technical aspect to the game. And I do think that El Locho is trying to make the change into more a football possession based game rather than just banging the ball up front in order to have Diego Costa chest the ball and then pass it on to maybe say Alvaro Morata, who's now moved on to
When
Juventus.
we look at the core of the team, this is where I find it quite fascinating because you have proven experience. I think Jan Oblak is the best keeper in the world, or at least the best shot stopper in the world,
Of
and
course.
there's no
I
debate
didn't
about it.
even forget. I forgot to mention him.
And you have defensive pairing of Jose Maria Jimenez, who has been at the club for a long time, and it's fair to say that he's yet to hit his peak because he's only 25 years old. They found Felipe to be a very good supporting cast to Jimenez at the back. Stefan Savic, who used to be at Manchester City, was playing a big role for them. Where I mean, famously in the Liverpool game in the Champions League quarterfinals, pre-quarters, he was the man who was leading the defense and trying to head every ball out and clear every ball out. They still have that instinct of defend first at all costs, but I think, like you mentioned, kind of transitioning towards what they can do with the ball, even if they don't have the ball as much as maybe the other teams would like to. They need to make more use of the ball. And by that, I mean not pumping it long and trying to play through the wings, which is where they have a lot of really good players. Technically, they have Carrasco, they have Joao Felix, they have Thomas Lemar, Luis Suarez, Marcos Llorente, Saul, Koke. Very, very good players with the ball. And they need to try and make the most of it. Kieran Trippier has joined in a mixed kind of season last year. He needs to find his feet as well. And I think Luis Suarez joining could actually help him. Then you moving up front, you're finding that they just need some goals. I think once they get some goals, I think there'll be a deadly threat. to Barcelona and Real
I mean,
Madrid.
let's not forget that I think Luis Suarez had the best impact you could ask for as a debutant at your new team. I mean, let's not forget he came on the 72nd minute, if I'm not wrong, and he had two goals and one assist. So, as far as getting the fans on your side, I mean, if he didn't have them already on his side before the kickoff of the game, he surely did after the final whistle blew.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Luis Suarez was definitely he didn't need to be welcomed by the fans. He brought himself onto the scene, and such is the talent that he possesses that even at the when he's into his 30s, he can still be a leader for this team, and that's where I see them being a major threat. I actually tipped them to. I'm not 100% sure, but I actually think they would be more competitive, challenging for the league title than they have in the last 6 to 7 years. Of course, they did win the last non-Barca Real Madrid title in 13-14 on a thrilling final day against Barcelona, but this might be the year for them to maybe come within 1 or 2 points of the title because I genuinely see them scoring goals week in week out, and I also see them defending well. And that is the best combination, right? When you're scoring goals and defending. So I can of course see them, kind of creating big problems.
Do you think that they have a better chance of finishing first to second compared to say Barcelona?
Barcelona's the one. Barcelona's the unknown at this point in time because we just don't know what Ronald Koeman is, and we don't know what he's going to do with the team, how they're going to respond if they lose a game or two, and what happens when Messi's unhappy again because it's not like he's going to be he's not going to act happy the whole season. We all know he wants to leave, so a lot of unknowns with Barcelona. And while Real Madrid might grind out the results week upon week, keeping clean sheets, you have to wonder whether they have goals other than Benzema, and especially if Eden Hazard doesn't make a mark this season, you're slightly worrying about the number of goals in their side. Atleti, on the other hand, and this is surprising to say that they might actually have more goals than Real Madrid, and that's where I see they could be a threat, and they could possibly wrest that league title for the first time since 13-14.
Talking about the other clubs that are there in and around the top four positions, I think it would be remiss if we don't mention about Sevilla. And Sevilla this season is going to be a very interesting prospect to see in La Liga as such. After last summer, where you saw the return of Monchi, he actually again kind of saw a whole oversale of the squad in the sense that with the only business being Suso's loan from AC Milan being made permanent, and also the arrival of Oscar Rodriguez from Real Madrid back on that excellent season that he had at Leganes. And of course, let's not forget that Ivan Rakitic has finally returned back to his home, as he has put it across. I do think that they're going to see also Sergio Reguilon being a big miss at that left back position, where they stormed to the final of Europa football and won it again. Um, Few have experienced such a rapid rise and a brutal fall from grace as Julian Lopetegui, who, of course, we all know what happened in 2018 when he was the manager of the Spanish national team going into the World Cup. When he, of course, I do think that it was poorly handled by him, the FA, and of course Real Madrid as well, where he signed a contract with Real Madrid stating that once the World Cup was over, he would take over the team. And when the media got word of it, it came out and he did not deny it. And of course, we all know what happened. I think it was 4 days before the start of the first game, Julian Lopetegui was sacked from his position, of course, which was unbelievable because let's not forget, within the span of 4 months after that, he was sacked from the Real Madrid job as well. And I think that had a hard hitting impact on him. And it's good to see that from a laughing stock, he has brought back his reputation from the ashes. And I do see that Sevilla may be the team that finishes fourth in La Liga this season.
I agree with you because for the first time in a long time after they won the Europa League, they haven't really sold the key players in the team. They've kept hold of Diego Carlos, Jules Koundé, who made up a very good backline. The keeper as well, Bordeaux, who was unbelievably a key in the game against Man United, is still at the team. They still have their very astute signing and the winger Lucas Ocampos. Um, of course, Ivan Rakitic's arrival could really bolster that midfield because Ever Banega has left to join a Saudi Arabian side. And I think generally this is a different Sevilla, as in we haven't seen them win the Europa League keep their core and keep their manager. And this is one of those rare occasions where they can actually compete and comfortably finish in the top four.
I also just want to touch upon Monchi and give him a little bit of credit, of course, with Jules Condé, who was an inspired signing last summer. Because let's not forget that he's only 21. It just goes to show the depth of resources that France have at the disposal. That he has made his debut only right now for their under 21 team. So I do think that that needs to be given also as one of Monchi's master strokes in the transfer market.
I think both of us, it's fair to say, talk about Monchi a lot, but we talk about him a lot because he is so good at his job. I don't think we can compare him to any other sporting director in the world for the last 15 years in terms of their impact on a club. Michael Edwards has been inspirational at Liverpool, but
Definitely,
Monchi is
truly,
different gravy, when it
yes.
comes to sporting direction, and unbelievable. Hats off to the guy.
Now let's come to a team that finished sixth in La Liga last season, Real Sociedad. And when we speak about Real Sociedad, we always talk about a team that kind of is performing in the top 10 and the top 6. They have that occasional run that they almost make it to the Champions League, but they always seem to be a team that's an also ran. And what do you make of this team, Real Sociedad, and their chances going into this season and what their aspirations should be?
I think it's 100% correct what you said there. There are also ran, and no one knows whether they're a club that wants to get to the top four, top six, whether they want to just finish in the Liga, stay up, whether they want to do well in Europe. Because the players they have seem to defy their ambition as a club. They've brought in David Silva this season. They've snatched him from Lazio, who thought they had a deal, but they didn't. And they've had very, very good players that have played for them. They still have a lot of them. Asia Mendy, who used to play for Real Madrid, is sparing them midfield. And you even had Mikel Oyarzabal, who has been a great addition to their side, a 23-year-old winger. Um, some of these players are, probably cut out to be playing in the Champions League, but at the same time, the club is not pushing towards that direction. So you kind of wonder, what does Sociedad have to do this season to classify as a success? And I personally think a Europa League spot is what they're going to aim at because of Sevilla's consistency and the way they've been able to keep their players. I think David Silva in the La Liga could be almost like Santi Cazorla in the La Liga, where they just have more freedom. They don't have that pressure week in, week out, and they can actually express themselves. And we know how good an artist he is. So maybe you could see some passes of magic really from David Silva as the season goes on. But yeah, like both of us have agreed, they just also ran, and we don't expect big things from them this year. A manager that you know very well, of course, one who is very close to your heart, Unai Emery, has taken over the reins at Villarreal. Um, what do you have to say about the appointment, and what do you have to say about the signings he's made? Because they've been pretty surprising, haven't they, so far?
Unai Emery, I mean, a man who's very close to my heart after he took over the Arsenal job after Arsene Wenger retired. But I think that's a talk for another day. And I think Unai Emery has his work cut out for him. And let's not forget that also Unai Emery's reputation at so-called big clubs. I mean, of course, PSG, Arsenal, just name two, and of course his work at Sevilla. But his immediate work at PSG and Sevilla, I do think at PSG and Arsenal, I do think his reputation has taken a dent in the sense that he's not equipped to take the jobs at the biggest clubs in the world. And I think this is a shot at redemption when you look at Villarreal's team. They, of course, lost Santi Cazorla, who was their star man over the last 2 seasons. He has departed for Al Sadd. And if you look at central midfielder Zambo Anguissa, whose loan spell also came to an end, and now he's back at Fulham. They have also made certain signings that I do think that they can bring them back to the level where they expect them to be. Of course, Danny Parejo, who was the captain of Valencia, he left to join Villarreal after the exodus that happened in Valencia, which we'll touch upon a bit in some time. And of course, Francis Coquelin, who were both snapped up by Emery on 4-year deals. They finished fifth last season, which is actually quite creditable under the stewardship of Javi Calleja. But I do think that they can try and aim for a bit higher this season in the sense that if Unai Emery gets back to the basics of how he handled his team at Sevilla and the way that he tried to build a united front from the back to the front in the pitch, I can expect them to challenge Sevilla for that fourth position in La Liga, and I do think that it's going to be a make or break season for Emery as well in terms of the potential that he has in terms of the clubs that he can go and try to manage in the future. Let's not forget that there are certain clubs, certain big clubs that might be having managerial positions open at the end of the season, and it can be to his benefit if he has a solid season at Villarreal.
Coming on to Valencia, a club that we've both been passionately speaking about how they've been probably the worst run club in the whole of the top five leagues in Europe. Valencia have just gone from disaster to disappointment, really, having sold half their squad for almost peanuts, and at the same time they haven't been exactly streamlined at the board level because Anil Murthy and Peter Lim, the owner and the CEO, have failed to communicate effectively with the playing staff, the management, and the fans. Because the golden alignment, as they talk about, a lot of pundits talk about how the management, the players in the team, the manager, and the fans need to be in perfect alignment for a club to succeed. It seems to be broken everywhere in Valencia, and it was quite surprising to me that Valencia actually did win their first game of the season. It was quite a shock actually because I did expect them to lose the first two or three games under the new manager Javi Gracia, and calls for. I mean, there have been very condemnable death threats thrown at Anil Murthy over the past couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
I do think we need to condemn that. Yes, for sure.
But it just shows the fans' frustration. And Valencia, another club that is the only other club other than Atletico, Barcelona, and Real Madrid to lift the Liga in this century, is just fallen off the cliff.
We're going to be talking about Real Betis this season and about the 2020-2021 season under Manuel Pellegrini. And they finished a lowly 15th last season, and I do think a lot more is expected from them this season. Of course, Pellegrini will be expecting more from himself as well. And let's not forget that they do have a decent squad when it comes to individual talents. Let's not forget Joaquin, who has made the highest number of appearances as an outfield player in La Liga, and Nabil Fekir is there as well with Sergio Canales. And what do you think about Fekir? What do you think about Real Betis and their expectations for this season? Of course, along with the signings that they've made of Martin Montoya, Claudio Bravo, and Victor Ruiz, all coming in for free.
I think Real Betis is a Real Sociedad with a bit of vision because they're seeking to try and eclipse their local rival Sevilla to get into the top four spot. I think they've tried it for 2 or 3 seasons now. And Kike Setien, who used to be in charge of Betis, did leave for Barcelona and kind of left a lot of problems that they didn't want to deal with. And this all started, I think, with Nabil Fekir's signing. There's a big signing of intent from Real Betis, and of course, they snatched him up after his failed negotiations with Liverpool. But we all thought that Betis might be a club to reckon with as a force in the next couple of 3 seasons. Doesn't seem like they've hit the heights yet, and we wait to see whether Pellegrini is the man for them. I mean, don't forget that this is a manager who has won the Premier League, has great experience across Spain and Europe in general, but has also endured a big dip and a big bold to his reputation because of his failings at West Ham. So you have a motivated manager, you have a motivated set of players. I think Betis should be looking to get into the Europa League places. They probably would be competing with Villarreal for the fifth spot, I feel, in my opinion. And I think we just want to see Nabil Fekir consistently perform every game with support around him because that is the biggest problem. Apart from Canales and Joaquin, there's no real player that strikes you as a player who is on the level of Nabil Fekir. So, a lot remain to be desired on Betis' front. Well, here's another team that you'd probably associate yourself to be closer to, more so because one of Arsenal's legends did take over the reins of this club a couple of seasons ago, and I'm talking about Granada, for whom Tony Adams, the Arsenal legend, was. I can't even call his managerial experience a failure. I think it was a catastrophe.
The
Couldn't
less
speak
said,
the
the better.
language, and
The less said,
similar
the
to a
better.
Gary Neville. Exactly. But I mean, for all the failures and the negatives we're highlighting, unbelievable that they've actually qualified for the Europa League. This is not a club that we associate with being a top six, top seven club in La Liga. And here they are with Roberto Soldado, a Tottenham legend, spearheading them up front. Unbelievable achievement for Granada. And the fact they've actually qualified for the Europa League. Yesterday they won against I think Ferenc. No, I forgot the team that they won against, but they qualified for the Europa League, and we all know that Spanish teams tend to do well in the Europa League. Getafe did pretty decently last year till they bowed out to Inter Milan. So not expected from them on the Europa front. I don't think their priorities would be in the La Liga other than survival, but could be a team that you probably would see in the last 32, last 16 of the Europa
I
League.
also think that Diego Martinez is one of the brightest young coaches in the Spanish game, and he has enhanced his reputation with the miraculous achievements last term with Granada. Let's look at the facts that he took over a side that had just finished 10th in the Segunda Division in the summer of 2018. 2 years on, and he's preparing to lead Granada into Europe, having quickly established a clear identity and found the winning formula. Let's look at the players that they also have. That Maxim Gonalons, who's going to be playing in midfield as well, and of course they've bought Luis Milia from Tenerife for 5 million. But I'm very excited about Jesus Vallejo coming from Real Madrid on loan, and along with Maxim Gonalons, who has been bought for 4 million. I do think that there can be a solid spine to the team with these acquisitions, and it's going to be interesting to see how they juggle their European aspirations of making it at least to the last 16 or last 32, like you mentioned, along with kind of maintaining the form that they've shown in La Liga over the last 2 years.
So with that, we come to an end of our preview of the La Liga. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us. We're trying to get you as much information as you can on the La Liga. Of course, if you do have any suggestions, please drop them in the comments below. And do reach out on our socials on Twitter, Instagram to get hold of some new content. We do have a series called Succinct Sunday, which is quite fun. And on that note, it's goodbye for now, but I hope you tune in the following week.